All right, what's up, everybody? John Schumacher here with New Wave Healthcare, the interview show that brings you inspiring and informative interviews with some of today's biggest health entrepreneurs every single week, Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, we're extremely excited to have our guest today, Carl Mattiola. Carl is the founder and CEO of ClinicMetrics, a physical therapy analytics software that helps physical therapy private practice owners keep better track of their analytics. Carl, my man, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate your time. Let's just have you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about ClinicMetrics.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, John. I'm pumped to be here. Excited about your show and give you a little overview on me. So I'm a software entrepreneur. I was not in healthcare really at all up until about a year ago. I got into the physical therapy market because I was interested. I had I was a patient back when I was in college. I played football. I had a bad shoulder injury, and I had a really good experience with a physical therapist getting over it. And I remembered that when I wanted to do my next thing on my own. So I started reaching out to practice owners and, yeah, found some painful problem to solve, and here I am. But yeah, other than that, I used to work for Tesla Motors, running everything kind of digital for them, and was a product manager there. And I like to surf, and I have an awesome dog, and I live in San Francisco.
Perfect, my man. Those are the two most important things, right? The surfing and the
Yeah,
dog, for
for
sure, right?
sure. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about ClinicMetrics. I know a lot of our listeners are physical therapists, and tell us a little bit about why it's unique amongst like analytical software. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, there really isn't analytical software within physical therapy. This is kind of a big gap in the market. It's brand new. I launched in May. Um, I'd say like most people, like the reason it was created is because a lot of practice owners were telling me that, either their current EMR or billing system or all of the above didn't provide them with the details they needed in order to really make decisions and drive their business. And so most of them were keeping track of stuff separately in spreadsheets. And, some people used some really archaic, crappy software out there in order to do this. That's not physical therapy specific, like Real Statistics, or a couple other people used Management by Statistics or something like that. And yeah, the stuff's just so old and kind of like, it served its purpose, but it's not really that great for this market. So my goal was to let people track, whatever they want, and at a glance see exactly what's going on in their business, and then also to allow their entire team and everybody that works for them to see where they are and where they stand and benchmark against one another, and then ultimately against other companies, and try to improve so that the whole industry improves. So that's kind of my vision there.
Right, and you actually, like you said, did some research and found that as being a glaring hole within physical therapy. It's just you would think would be an obvious thing that they're doing is tracking their analytics, but apparently that just wasn't happening, right?
Well, I'd say the majority of the physical therapy industry doesn't track anything, which is sad because, it's nothing against the physical therapists themselves or the practice owners themselves. They just weren't trained on how to do that, and that's not really why they got into the business in the first place. So, a lot of people just are super busy, like seeing patients and running their practice, and they just can't do it. And then there are some people who are doing it, but there was just no tool to help them. So that's why I did this. I didn't have the idea. It wasn't my idea. I kind of reached out to a lot of practice owners and asked them a lot of questions about what their biggest challenges were. I heard a lot of different challenges, but this was one that kind of stuck out to me that I knew I could solve in a really cool way, because I've done a little bit of this kind of work in other markets, and I know what can be done here if you really know what's going on in your business, and you can make good decisions that way. You can really grow and excel and really overcome all these challenges that people are having with like recessions and healthcare reform and all of that. The only way you can improve yourself when you're kind of losing margins and margins are getting cut and you're getting paid less for your services is to be a little more efficient and spend your money on what's going to really work for you. So that's what I'm trying to help people do.
Right. Yeah, and I think you nailed it down there. And you shared a little bit about how you went and just sought out the answers from your target market, which we'll get into in a second. But so basically, I know a little bit about your history, and I know you've had quite a bit of success even before you launched your product. But before we get to that, when you're venturing into a new endeavor like you have, what were some of the challenges you faced or the fears that you were thinking in your mind before you were taking that on?
Yeah, man, I saw your Facebook post a few weeks ago or a month ago or so on like what's the biggest challenge or what's holding people back in this market the most, and it's the same. It's the same as every other market. The fear is like what holds you back is like fear, or it's like what's in your own head. As an entrepreneur, like you need to do things in order to succeed. Like you need to take action, and whether that's calling somebody or sending a whole bunch of mail to your patients, or calling doctors up or taking them out, or whatever you do to market, or all these things, you might have some objections going on in your head about doing them, and that's what stops you, and that's what was stopping me in the past. So yeah, like that's the big challenge, is just getting over that so that you can, really reach your full potential and help as many people as you can, giving out what your gift is to people. So yeah, it's a mixture of emotions and fear that you need to get over in order to accomplish what you want to do. I'd say that's the real challenge.
Right. Yeah, and like you say, it's the same in any industry, but and I think we all get hung up on having to do it perfect, like the first time.
That's true.
And we all have to. I'm like an analytical kind of semi-perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist to the T, but you want to launch things and make it perfect, and build everything perfect before you share it with anybody. And I think that's just a huge mistake, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's another huge mistake. A lot of people do think they need to perfect things before they show it to anybody, which is the complete freaking opposite of what you should do. If you're doing that, then you're going to fail. Like, you are going to fail, because you need to. That's why 99% of the businesses or whatever it is out there fail, because if you don't find out what your customer wants and desires first, and build them, or create the product that they want, they're not going to want it. So right. Unless you're just like, you guess right, which is most likely not going to happen. So I mean, in my opinion, where you want to start is asking them questions without doing any other work, and then do as little as possible work to get something in front of them so that they can see and feel what you're trying to offer, and see if get feedback, see if you're in the right direction, and just keep iterating that. So yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah, and that's huge too. Get out that, like they say, that minimally viable product. And if you're a health coach, or if you're coming out with a new ebook or a new product or service or anything, in healthcare or in any field, you need to, like you say, get something out there, like a test model, quickly, and get actual feedback on it. Actual
right.
people who are going to use your product or your niche, if that's in a coaching service, or if it's anything healthcare or not. Get it out there so that you can get your niche some actual feedback to make it better before you spend a bunch of time and money on it and just totally go down the wrong road. And they say nothing is worse than doing something perfect that's not the right thing, right? You waste all that time and money. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's not what you want to do. You want to get feedback and give people what they want, and actually help them solve their problems. So you can't do that without asking them, and you can't ask them without getting over whatever bullshit it is you have in yourself or fear to do that. So
Right.
you got to do it.
Right. So take us through the process, and this is a show on healthcare, and I know you have a healthcare-related software program, but I think these principles that you're going to share here, as far as the process you went through to actually build your product and business, are viable for healthcare or any profession for that matter. But I know you went through a special training program that kind of taught you some steps to do in order to, go through that process of coming up with an idea, creating a model, sharing that with your target audience before you build it. So can you touch on some of those steps you took when you were actually gathering the ideas
started?
when you're getting started?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'll go step by step, and I'll go quick, but if you want to stop me and drill in, then go for it.
A little bit.
Yeah. So I started off by choosing the market, and everyone should do that. If you don't choose the market, you're targeting too many people, and if you don't niche down to something that you can handle, or you don't choose a market that can, give back to you and provide enough value back to you so that you can make a living, like, it's obviously not going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might say, like, oh, that's like a greedy way of thinking, but it's not. It's not at all. Like, if you need to help people, like, they need to help you too, so that you can do that. So, I mean, I'd say the first step is choose a market, figure out who you want to sell to and the kind of people you want to serve, exactly who they are, and look at the numbers. Like, numbers are important. Like, how many are there, and what's their income, and how much, is it viable to start this kind of product? Have people bought products like that before in that market, or are people spending money in this area? Like, those are smart, like, questions to ask and figure out, like, what's going on. So you choose a market, and then you want to reach out to them.
So how did you choose a market? Like, did you go online with a resource and find that, or how did you do that?
I did a combination of things. I started off with a list. Like, I just created a big list of markets that were growing, and I had like basically an Excel spreadsheet of a whole bunch of markets, their names, how many, like, if they were growing or not, and how many people were in the market. And I started with that, and I cut out, the first thing I did was I cut out everything that was too small, and for me it was under 10,000 people. I mean, now I'm thinking about software here, so whatever you guys are doing is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wanted a market that had at least 10,000 businesses. That was just the number I wanted to shoot for. And then I cut all those out, and then the next thing I did was just manually went through and cut out all the things that I wasn't passionate about. And eventually I had like 10 left after, being brutal and cutting out the things that I didn't really care about so much, that I didn't really have a passion for. And I saw a few things on the list that I really, really liked. One of them was physical therapy, and I put that through all of the tests, which are, is it big enough? Does it, do they make enough money? Do they use software? Because I'm trying to offer a software product, and they do, and they're starting to. And I just had all the good signs of, I saw I could really help them, and
Mm-hmm.
in that, it's pretty an underserved market. So
Where
yeah.
did you find the statistics on the size of the market? Like, how did you gather
I
that?
mean, you can Google it. You can go to hoovers.com. You can go to a lot of different sites. I mean, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there are a lot of market research sites you can look at to get those numbers.
Okay. Yeah. So you created a software product, but for anybody who's in healthcare who is going to come out with a new product, a new category, or a new service, I mean, they could use that knowledge, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're in healthcare and you're targeting like B2B, like you're somebody targeting healthcare, obviously the numbers are pretty easy. If you're B2C, you can use, like, one trick that I really like to use for like consumers is like say you treat people with shoulder pain or whatever, you could go on Facebook and look for people who like I don't know, liked something specific or was like following someone specific that fixed shoulder pain, or if you're looking to help people with weight loss, like you could look for people that liked different other, different pages or something that have to do with weight loss. And then that'll, like, you do that in their ad tool. Sorry, I'm kind of just skipping over a whole bunch of crap because it's kind of second nature to me at this point. But yeah, like, you can go into this Facebook ad tool and kind of drill down and actually see, and a market size, like, really quickly. In less than 5 minutes, you can see how many people liked a certain thing or were interested in a certain thing. And it's just a really good way for B2C to kind of judge how big the market might be.
So are you looking at the Facebook Power Editor? Is that what you're looking at, or
the ads, like the Facebook ad platform? If you go in there and you act like you pretend you're going to create an ad, and when you're creating the ad, it'll ask you who you want to target, and like you can literally demographics wise, like you could, if you're targeting one state, you can choose that state, and then you can go by interest and whittle it down that way, or you can go by, does this, do I want people who liked or were interested in, I don't know what example to use here. Well, ClinicMetrics, say, I don't even have a Facebook page, but say I wanted to target people who use that software because, they're likely to have a big physical therapy business or whatever. So I could target people that like that page. Or if I were a consumer and I wanted to target people who, liked Richard Simmons for some reason, like I could do that, and that could be my market that I go after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so find your market. So you can, like you say, reach out. You can Google it. You can look at. I think there's isn't BizBin a site that you can use to find out market size and things like that?
BizBin is actually. I use BizBin, and BizBin, what's cool about that is you can see businesses that are for sale, and they often post their revenue, so
right.
You can see how much money they're making, and it's a good way to just as an indicator of how big the market size is, and you already know that, and then you kind of want to judge how much money do these on average make. So like what kind of product you can offer them, or what's you just learn a little more from that. So
okay.
Yeah, I did use that.
All right, so you nailed down your niche. So that's with anybody. Do some research on your niche. Make sure that there's enough people who want your product. So if you're in healthcare, make sure there's enough people that are looking for the service or the product that you're going to be providing. Like Carl did, he did his research and he came up with a market, physical therapy, that had enough businesses and enough money in order to fund his project. So I think that was the key point there in your first talk there. So after you nailed down your niche, then my understanding is then you had dug in deep enough into your niche to really identify some serious problems and some serious pain before you moved forward.
Right.
After you identified that, you came up with a sort of a mock-up kind of info packet to show them, right?
Yeah. So I just started talking to people in physical therapy, practice owners, and I started asking them questions about their biggest challenges and their biggest problems and what they needed to solve in their business to make it run better. And yeah, I heard a lot of things back, and I used that data to kind of figure out what might make sense to get people to help people out. So.
Mm-hmm. So you dug into that, and that's the key for anybody to take, is you got to dig in. Don't just launch a product off the top of your head, with your idea. Make sure you know that before you do anything that it's something people want, and that's how you were able to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. You're just you can just ask. It's basically surveying. You're asking, what are your biggest challenges, and then you can go from there. They might just say marketing, but that's not enough. You have to go a little deeper and say, like why, like what's the biggest problem with marketing, and keep asking why until you get to a root problem and really understand it. And really, honestly, it works for any kind of product you would want to create.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about what you did to create your actual I guess you could call it an info packet, or how did you create? Because my understanding is what you did is you found your problem and then you created sort of a sketch or a mock-up of what you could create for them.
Yeah, I found the problem, and I talked about a solution with them. Like, okay, so we could probably solve this with this type of solution. Or a lot of times people just told me the solution. They're like, or you can ask like a question like, if you could wave a magic wand and have this problem go away, what would happen?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and then they might tell you what should happen. And you can even ask them that, if something were available to do that for you, what would be a fair price?
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of start to get into that, and you can really start to drill in further with like price anchoring questions and stuff like that, like how much time would it save you, entering data if you had something like this, or how many more patients could you get if you had something like this.
Right.
So you can kind of judge like what the ROI is going to be. But yeah, after that, I had 8 different, like after asking those questions, I had 8 different ideas that I thought were all viable. And I chose this one because it was something that I knew I could do. And I really was passionate about it, but also because, it wasn't too big and like obscure of a problem. Like it was like really tangible and solvable.
Right.
So yeah, from there I kind of just drew up sketches of what the solution could look like on paper, and then I put them into a tool called Keynote, which is just like PowerPoint for people who use Apple or Macs. And there's another tool called Keynotopia, and this is all about web stuff. So I don't know if people use this. I mean, it helps you. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I said I think it's good. I think that's good. People want to hear that because any of us could have an idea for a new product or a service or anything, and would want to know. Okay, I got my problem locked down. I've found my niche problem. If this is in healthcare, it could be a specific health client you're working with, and now you're going to write up a mock-up. Before I go out and build my business, let me write up a mock-up to bring to them and show them and see what the response is. And you used Keynote, right, for your.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I did for a living, like forever, was user experience and stuff. I did it for Tesla and, mock-ups and wireframes and all that. Like, I've been doing it for a long time, so I've used tons of tools. There's tons of tools out there. Like, Keynote and Keynotopia is my favorite, but you can use Go Mockingbird, you can use Balsamiq, you can use PowerPoint with Keynotopia. There's a ton of crap you can use. Like, there's endless tools. This is for mocking up web products. If you wanted to, you could mock up any product. You could write stuff down on a piece of paper. If it's an information product, you could talk about your services. You can just, as long as you have a way to kind of define what it's going to be, you can still then show it to people and get feedback. So that was the next step. I got some feedback on it. And then after I felt like I had it right, after getting enough feedback, which was, maybe 3 or 4 meetings with all the people who were interested in solving the problem, I kind of felt like I had a really good understanding of the problem. I felt like I was really going to solve it. They felt like I was really solving it, and I knew that because they're like, that's it. This, can I have that?
Yep.
And I said, yes.
Of course.
Yeah, so the next thing I did was ask them to pay me in advance.
Right.
And a lot of people think that's ridiculous. But it's the single most effective way of seeing if your idea is actually worthy or not. If you get people to pay for it, once money changes hands, like, that somebody is like, it's really a good idea. And especially if you can get them to do it without you having anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next thing I did. I basically took the mock-ups to these people and I showed it to them and I said, hey, I really want to build this, but in order to make sure it's viable, I want to, I would like to ask you to pay 3 months of the cost of it in advance in exchange for giving you, a certain percentage off and being part of the early adopter group, and you get all these benefits, blah, blah, blah. Like, you get to kind of dictate the features of the software, it gets built around your business and all that, which was great. I mean, it's great for them. They get to be part of what they kind of helped me define as a product, and it gets to be built, right around their needs. And it's great for me because it helped fund the development of the product.
Awesome. Yeah, I heard you made like $4,800 or something like that before you had even built the product, and then used that money to actually fund your product.
I did, yeah. Exactly.
And so that's way cool. I mean, that's just a foreign idea for a lot of people. It's sort of backwards, and in healthcare or in any business, we tend to think we got to come up with the product first before we can make a dime. And in your case, you extracted ideas out of your target market, and you showed them what you could do for them in enough detail and accuracy that they actually loved it, got excited, and actually said, yes, we'll pay you to make this. I mean, that's cool, man. That's really cool. I mean, how the hell do you do that, man? That's amazing, So in healthcare, I mean, we could do something similar, right? I mean, you could find out if your niche is weight loss or something like that. Get into survey those people, find out, sketch up a product or an idea or a service, and then I don't know, you could create some kind of an opt-in page or something to see how many people take action on that, or how would you go about that?
First, I would define the market,
mm-hmm.
And see who exactly it is. Do I want to target for weight loss? Is it, people who are obese that haven't been able to solve the problem before, or is it, stay-at-home moms, or is it, I don't know. Like, of course, you're going to have to define who you're going after, right? And if I were, offering some sort of, I don't know if it's a service or if it's a course or something, or if it's just like, come into my clinic and I'll help you lose weight. I would find a couple of those people and I would ask them a few questions about, what do you want? Like,
mm-hmm.
what do you, in terms of your weight, what do you want? And what have you tried in the past? What other products have you tried in the past
mm-hmm.
in order to try to, get in control of your weight? And why do you want to get in control of your weight? And how does it feel to not be able to solve that? And I would ask all these questions and try to really understand them and understand what they want and what they need, and why other programs didn't work for them, and what kind of program would be attractive to them, and what they can do, what they're capable of. And you can do this, not just like, you should be doing this not just like to create a product, but even if you're a doctor working in a clinic, like, you'll learn a lot from your customers if you ask these questions, and you can use that to generate more business too.
Yeah.
It's not just about creating products, but yeah, that's what I would do. I would ask those questions, and then, I would create a concept based on what the answers were, and I would then do kind of what you said, try to see if people are interested in it, and try to sign them up and get them to pay in advance before I actually launch it. Like, say, oh, I'm going to launch January 1st. If you sign up now, you get this much off, whatever.
Right.
That's pre-selling. So
Right.
You can do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you could just set up like an opt-in page or something, and give out an early rate or something to kind of see what the level is before you go out of the way and actually build something. So
Mm-hmm. It's like, think about it. It's just like Kickstarter. Like, everybody knows what Kickstarter is, or if you don't, I'm sorry. Like, go to Kickstarter.com. It's a place where, people crowdfund projects, right? And they do that because, people might say, oh, I want to make this video game, or, oh, I want to create this, iPhone case, and I think it's really awesome, but I don't have the money to do it. And they pitch their ideas. You should really be doing the same thing. You don't need that platform to do it. You can do it on your own, and that way you really know if your product's viable. Like, if somebody, needs $10,000 to make 100 or 1,000 iPhone cases or whatever they're selling, and then they put the product up there and it sells 100,000 worth of them, then they know that they have something. And if it doesn't, they know they should can the idea and go to something else. So
Right.
it's the same thing. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Cool. And then, so as far as after you got so you found an interest, the physical therapists were like, yes, Carl, we want this. Well, we're going to pay you before you even have it, and you're going to magically make it appear for them and wave your magic wand and solve all of their problems. Wow, man, you're just a hero for them. And when it came time to build the thing, though, and we'll maybe do a couple minutes on this, and then we better get going or move on. Did you develop it yourself? Did you outsource some of the work? Because I know a lot of people get stuck on, well, I don't know how to make my ebook, or I don't know how to make my weight loss ebook, or my weight loss course, or my new product. Like, how did you go about that?
You can outsource anything. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I have a lot of software experience.
Right.
So if
you cheated.
Yeah, I kind of cheated a little bit. I have a lot of interest in software. I love it, and I've been doing that for a long time, and I know a ton of developers, so yes, I had a big leg up when it came to development. But, I mean, I have friends who've done this. My friend Esther is a photographer, and she started a software business that helps photographers kind of manage their appointments for photo shoots with like weddings and stuff, and she had zero experience. She outsourced it all. So you can do that. Like, you can outsource just about anything you want to. It's not really a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, so don't get hung up on that, guys. I mean, it's just, I didn't know how to make my website. I'm not a WordPress guru. I know how to use it a little bit, but I had to outsource everything to get my site up, or I would have been, without a site. So, I mean, just don't get hung up on that, right? That's the key point there. So Carl, what would you do differently if you could start over? Just answer this real quick for me. Like, what would you do, knowing that you know what you know now? You're technically a healthcare entrepreneur now. You're a software entrepreneur. Tell us just a brief statement of what you'd do differently if you could start over.
I'd go faster. Like,
faster.
Really, the only thing I can say is I would go as fast as I possibly can. I would do everything I did just faster. I would basically, get my product in front of people faster. I would make it smaller. I would not make it, I'd put less work into it initially, because the less work you put into it initially and the faster you get it in front of somebody, the faster you're going to get feedback, and the faster you're going to build a product that really helps them. So, going faster and getting something in front of somebody faster, yeah.
Just haul ass, man. Just do it. Put out that minimal product and get a lot of great feedback from your actual market. That's it. So Carl, tell us a little bit about some of the resources you use, to manage your business, or a couple of your favorite online resources.
Online resources, okay. I have long lists of this.
Maybe like 3.
like what are people into? Like, what are people listening to this? Like, what are they doing? And like,
well, a lot of them are probably bloggers or people that are like solo or small business owners who are trying to get their message out a little more, like a health coach or a physical therapist, or someone who's sort of new to the online world and wants to know how to get their message out.
So they want to learn to market more. Okay, well, one awesome resource is, if you want to be able to build websites really fast and you don't really even need to know much, you can get Optimized Press, or Optimized Press is what I would recommend. It's awesome, and like anybody can use it. Like a monkey can use it. It's super simple. Once you get it up, you basically can drag and drop stuff, and it's like really easy. For mobile campaigns and stuff, you can use Heyo. My friend runs that company, and I just happen to know it's awesome, and he's awesome. So that's also drag and drop, like Facebook pages, mobile campaigns, mobile sites for promotions you're doing. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. Trying to remember what else. Yeah, maybe a productivity one. I like to use one called followup.cc. It's a really simple, just way to remind you to do things. You basically put a CC in the email that could be like 2 days at followup.cc, and you send them that email, or you include it in the email BCC'd. Like if I'm sending John an email and I want to remember to reach out to him in 2 weeks, I could send him an email and BCC 2 weeks at followup.cc, and it'll remind me to send him something back, and it's really just a super easy way of doing that. So check that out too.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll have to check those out. A couple of those I haven't heard of. I tend to know a fair amount of them, but Optimized Press obviously I know, but a couple of the other ones would be good to check out too. So
yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Carl, I'm going to get you going here a little bit. We're going to finish up strong here. We're going to do a speed round. So be careful, man. Here I come. I got a couple questions for you, and these will be pretty simple. Just spit out whatever comes to your mind first, okay? First question is, what was your biggest mistake that you made during this process? Uh-oh.
I'm going to have to think hard. I mean, there were a lot of mistakes, but...
First one that comes to your mind.
My biggest mistake. I'll just say my biggest mistake, of all time was just not doing what I just talked about, like not talking to customers before launching products. I failed 4 times before I succeeded. Right. So talk to customers before you do anything.
Right. What book would you recommend to our listeners? Like, our listeners are health entrepreneurs, people that are, that small business owner looking to scale their business. What's a good book you'd recommend?
Oh man, I have so many good books, but I would say, not enough people are like reading about copywriting, and I think copywriting is like super important. It tells you how to learn from your customers and communicate in their language, and so I would recommend reading The Boron Letters by Gary Halbert.
Boron Letters?
Yeah, it's you can find it on Amazon, and it's Gary Halbert.
Halbert?
I'll send it to you guys. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a really good book, and it's basically his letters to his son from prison, which makes it even more interesting. But yeah, you should read it. It's a good book.
Awesome. What's one piece of advice you would give a new health entrepreneur?
I mean, the first piece of advice I give any entrepreneur is know your why. Like, know why you are doing what you're doing and why you really want to be in business and create a business. If you don't have that clearly defined and like what you want and why you're doing what you're doing, you will fail because you don't have that. Like, when stuff gets hard, and it will, you won't have a reason to really push through. So know your why.
Right. Exactly. It's all about that. We can't. That's the fuel, man. The fuel in the tank. Yeah. You got to have that, otherwise, bad things are coming for you. And if you don't have that, man, if you can't pick yourself up when you feel bad, we all have bad days, but you can't have too many bad weeks or bad months if you want to make it, right? So
yeah.
So let's see here. What's the biggest change you see coming to healthcare, Carl?
Biggest change I see coming to healthcare. Healthcare it gets a bad rap, and it doesn't get a lot of help because a lot of people are discouraged by the regulations. They're discouraged by just, a lot of things about it. So unfortunately, it's like innovation in healthcare, it doesn't have to be that novel. So what do I see happening? I mean, I'll tell you what I hope happens. I hope people look at what's going on in other industries and applies that to this market, because if they do that, like, giant steps forward will happen. People need to share. They need to be more open. They need to have like less of a scarcity mindset and worry about that. I need these customers are mine. There's not enough for me. Like, they need to be more open. There's plenty of people out there to be your customers, and we all need to kind of work together. And you know, we all need to take risks and like get your head out of healthcare so you can see what's going on in other industries who are really like thriving and successful, and all of that applies to this business too. So
Right.
I think that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, particularly in technology and healthcare, which I see as it's coming. You know, we're definitely making strides, and there's a lot of really neat things coming out with healthcare, but they're slow because of the rules and regulations. So
Yeah.
But that's cool. I think that was well said. So, well, Carl, I mean, I appreciate your time. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Let's just go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about where they can find you and connect with you more, and a little bit, you know, where they can find out more about your company and those kind of things, and then we'll say goodbye.
For sure. Check out my website at ClinicMetrics.com. If you're interested in it, you know, or if you just want to have any questions for me at all, you can email me at carl@clinicmetrics.com. If you would like to learn more about building a software business or any of that, I also blog about it. So, but I don't know if anybody really cares about that here, but if you do, then you can go to my blog at carlmattiola.com.
Well, I'll definitely check it out, man. That's interesting stuff. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your time. So
yeah, for sure. It was fun.
Yeah, man.
Thanks everybody.
Yep. So thanks, everybody. It was great to have Carl on the show today. It's really, really powerful lessons here for healthcare professionals or anybody is know what your market wants first. Don't just think, oh, I have this amazing idea and I'm going to take this idea out there. You might, but you very well might be wrong. And so you got to go out there and pull out all those ideas out of your market's head. You know, is it a doctor? Is it a therapist? Is it anybody, a nutritionist? Before you launch your next project, get out there and talk to your target market. Get down there and ask them questions. You know, what are some of the biggest pains you're having? What's the thing that's costing you the most in your business? Those are some excellent questions to dig into their minds and really figure out, okay, where is there a problem? And can I solve that problem? And then Carl took that and he made, a mock-up, something to show you. It could be a video. It could be, like Carl made it on Keynote. Those are some powerful techniques there. You can do that too in the healthcare field. And then he actually brought it to his target market, and to really decide if it's a good idea, he actually pre-sold the thing, which is amazing. We just don't get that. It's so backwards. We think we have to make a perfect product and impress the person first. No, you don't. Stop that. This Carl's way is better, and it's working, and it just makes sense. So before you launch your next project, make sure you maybe set up an opt-in page. Maybe do something there to determine what the level of interest is first. That before you make anything, do that, and then make your product. And outsource it if you have to. There's no excuses. I mean, you can outsource everything, so there's no excuse about, oh, well, I don't understand how my webcam works or my WordPress site or whatever. Don't think that way. That is BS. You can do it. So that's what I got to say about that, Carl. Dude, you rocked it, man. I appreciate you. Our next show is next Monday at November 11th already at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. We're going to have another powerful guest on to share some important lessons. And that's it. You can check out this interview. I'll have it archived probably by tomorrow night on the newwavehealthcare.com/Carl Mattiola. I'll just put Carl's name on a page there and make a nice page for him. And I'll have all of the links to some of the resources Carl mentioned in his website and everything else if you're interested in that. So have a rocking Monday night, and I'll see you next week.